I want to start here by giving some appreciation to Hugo Weaving's versatility as an actor. He's been a wise elven leader, a villainous computer program, a masked vigilante, a literal Nazi, and a blatantly bigoted foster dad. If you're giving me a confused look, it's probably because you don't know about his voice role as Rex the Border Collie in Babe from 1995. And if you don't know that he was the voice of Rex, now you do. My name is Sparky, and this is me howling to the void. I watched Babe a few times in my childhood, and it's left its mark on my psyche, and boy can you tell because hey, look at me. I've had a hard time watching it as of late. It has a certain je ne sais quoi that produces a tense feeling in my stomach. The more I think about it though, the less je ne sais quoi that quality becomes. The aesthetic of the film is whimsical and cute, but it hides a dark side. The most obvious being that Babe starts out as an unwitting feeder pig, i.e., he's being raised for slaughter, because that's what humans do with pigs, and it's pointed out early in the film. Although, surprisingly, no one mentions it in plain terms directly to him at that point. It's just a elbow nudge in case the audience thinks that this is being glazed over. No pun intended. Honestly, it just flowed onto the page when I was typing it out in my notes. This grisly exposition brings me to Fly, the mate to the aforementioned Rex, who has pity on him at the beginning because he misses his mom. The twinge of maternal pathos is a bit sullied by the fact that she won't let him into the boss's house with her, and even lets her offspring have a little guffaw that he'll never cross the threshold. Alive. And she really doesn't feel compelled to alter his fate just to help him, you know, find his place on the farm. Yeah, more on that later. Babe expresses a desire to join her at work, having basically imprinted on her at this point, but she hasn't, and informs him that, all the animals on this farm have a job. Hers is mid-management of sheep, and his is to, well, she doesn't say it outright as much as casually and cryptically hint at it, but his job is basically to eat his food. i.e., fatten up, little piglet. You'll be ready in no time for purposes that are um, classified? Yeah, classified. Let's go with classified. It's not until right near the end, when Babe has established himself as a useful working animal, that the purpose for which he was bred is revealed to him. And this is done out of spite by the cat. Side note, this is an unfair representation of Katos in my opinion. I personally love Katos. Where was I? Oh yeah,
I was about to reframe this whimsical farmyard fantasy as a slow burn horror film.
I know that it all ends well and happily and rosy, but from the beginning to the shocking reveal, the whole story to this point could easily have been shot as a horror story. The humans raised him for slaughter, and he had no idea he was in danger. This isn't like Charlotte's Web, where the pig is actively participating in his own rescue. No, Babe's being carried along by the current to his demise on a raft, so to speak. The audience is in suspense about what's going to happen to him, not what he's going to do about it. Death is around the corner at all times, and Babe is none the wiser. The humans even once consider inviting him to Christmas dinner. No, wait, that can't be right. Oh, haha, yeah, that was a typo. It's meant to read that they consider eating him for Christmas dinner. This is about the halfway point of the movie, and Fly, who by this time has unofficially adopted Babe, following the sale of her puppies, bolts awake and seems to be ready for action when she hears the boss coming for his quarry, which turns out to be a Christmas duck rather than a Christmas ham. To be honest, it's a bit weird that the humans had nominated him as the potential main course, even though he wasn't really big enough to serve up leftovers. And Lammy is giving me the side eye. Look, writing for humans is just this way, alright? Puns, dark humor, turn of phrase, that's just the way things are. Oh yeah, speaking of that phrase, the way things are. It comes up time and again in the movie, and as a kid I thought it was just a cute way of saying life is full of disappointments. See, I had a deeply sheltered upbringing, oblivious to the harsh realities of racism, sexism, well, all of the isms if I'm being honest. So I missed what was really being said here. It's indirect discourse. Fly and Rex bite and harass the sheep in order to get them to comply with their orders, but that's just the way things are. Some animals are born specifically to be slaughtered, and that's just the way things are. And hey, Fly's more or less adopted son Babe is marked for brutal slaying and consumption, but... Oh, wait, oh, that's just not okay. Yeah, Fly had a special relationship with Babe, complete with motherly affection, and it wasn't until Babe actually gets to work with her in the sheepfolds that he witnesses what should be obvious to anyone. That just because someone is kind to you, it doesn't mean they won't change face when dealing with a different demographic. Now, this is a parable of sorts, so let's not assign the usual archetype of the dumb, witless sheep to a real-world demographic here. The archetype, Lammy, I'm writing for humans, okay? The image is of an ancestral predator to their ancestral prey, the latter subjugated by the former, with a mindset in each that implies, and while the dogs are perfectly okay with this arrangement, the sheep are not. And while Fly frequently repeats the phrase, the way things are, the sheep never say it at all. Not one single time. The movie isn't saying that the way things are is the way things are. It's only the characters who are complicit in the way things are who are using it in passive acceptance, because it costs them nothing. Until, in Fly's case, it plausibly could cost her a very steep price, in the form of her newly adopted Babe, the realization of which enters her mind only very gradually. And isn't that the picture of modern Western culture? Racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, and all the other isms and phobias, along with their corresponding acts of discrimination and violence, are happening all around us. But as long as we're in the privileged class or classes, most of us are either in denial that things are really that bad despite all the evidence surrounding it, or we're perfectly fine with it. Most of the time, it's not until we form a bond with someone who experiences brutality or discrimination that we start caring about it. And even then, some of us find it a hard sell to give up comfort for the sake of our friends, or rather the people to whom we, perhaps mistakenly, consider ourselves friends. The movie does leave us with some good news, though. Some hope that even the calloused, privileged, and internally prejudiced can be persuaded to care for and assist in alleviating the plight of the oppressed, however long it takes to persuade them. Remember Rex, if you will, the border collie who begrudgingly allowed his mate to bond with his future breakfast. He eventually has a change of heart, and for the sake of Fly, he helps to rescue Babe after he runs away. And soon thereafter, for Babe's own sake, I mean, also the farmer's reputation's sake, but at least Babe factors into his motivations, he negotiates a treaty with the sheep. He becomes, if you will, a fledgling ovine ally. The movie was filmed about 25 years ago, as some of the concepts are a bit poorly aged, such as the apparent responsibility the movie places on the sheep for somehow not being willing to empathize with their oppressors, which is a rather sizable false equivalence if I'm not reading too much into it. But overall, it's a pretty great social justice allegory, and I haven't even touched on the potential for a vegan critique. Alright, so how was that, Lemmy? Oh yeah, so if you would like to, you can like this video. It'll help with my numbers, and subscribe so I have followers, and maybe leave a comment. Any thoughts? No? How did I do? Okay, that's good. Okay, good. Bye, everyone.